Hey everybody, it's snowy, which I guess it's kind of snowy everywhere this week. I'm gonna mix me up some feed for my cows that are out. They're actually out on corn stalks. We're supposed to be below freezing for several days. I know most of the country is like below zero, but you know, I'm also in New Mexico, so it's kind of a bit of a difference. The horses are out playing, but I thought I would make a quick little video. In the past, I had talked about, people had asked me questions. Why not just use a vertical mixer over a horizontal box, or this, that, lots of other deal. And I made the comments that I preferred the horizontal box for what I was doing over a vertical. And that's still true. I actually do prefer the horizontal mixer boxes that we have. We have that wagon and the truck still for feeding in the feed pins over the vertical. So a few things have changed since I bought this vertical. This vertical is much larger than the one I owned when I first started out, and then the several that I've used since then. But I didn't buy this one for the feedlot. I bought this one for the ranch, and I've adapted it to use in the feed pens. And I think this right here is where this machine really shines for what I'm doing. So there's a custom grinding outfit that's like 2 hours from us. They'll come grind hay. Well, it's like 100 bale minimum to grind, and something I forget. I know some people have used them. I haven't used them because I had that roto grind. And so that being said, there's my pile of ground hay. It's getting kind of low. We don't grind a lot of bales at a time, maybe 15-20 bales, and that's what we end up grinding up. So here's the deal. Where this machine really shines for me is we're grinding up one type of hay. Right now we're just using some millet hay, but I've got stacks of wheat straw and stacks of corn stalks and stacks of alfalfa and some stacks of wheat hay, and this, that, and the other that is not ground up because, believe it or not, we don't feed our cows in the wintertime. I know it's a big shocker. We don't typically feed our cows. They'll get like a protein source. Now last year I fed them with the vertical wagon because we were short on grass, so we had no grass, and our protein source was really high, so I had a lot of available feed, and I made it a cheaper deal than to feed them the way I did than what we normally do. So, but our cows typically either go to corn stalks or winter in the pastures, a long ways from here. And so they don't get fed all winter long. We don't bring them up close, and they don't get fed like the majority of the country up north, where when it gets cold they bring their cows in and they feed them a ration, or they run short on grass, or whatever the deal is. So we don't have, if we have a storm, we typically take the hay to the cows and flake it off for them or unroll it for them, whatever the case may be. We don't have it all ground up. The only thing I'm grinding up is what I would use in my ration already, because I run those horizontal boxes. Now, that being said, with this, where this machine has really started to shine, is I can take, oh, I'm covering my camera like an amateur. That's how long it's been since I've been making videos. Where this thing really starts to shine is I have all these different feed sources that typically wouldn't be ground up. Now, if I know I'm going to be feeding a ration to the cows, I'm going to pre-grind most of the hay. and because it makes it so much quicker. But I can take, you know, alfalfa, whatever I want that day, blend me off something, make me a ration, and it's so much nicer than taking the pickup out and putting like a bale of corn stalks and a bale of alfalfa, putting out, flaking it out, and they only eat like the alfalfa or the wheat hay or whatever. You know, they don't eat the less desirable stuff. And I know this is nothing new to anybody. It's just me kind of saying, hey, this is really working well for our operation, because it's, you know, it's just not that common here. The people, I mean, we all just have pickups with bale beds or flat beds, and people, if it does get snowy, we just feed hay like that. But it has really kind of changed what I'm doing, is the fact like that, because I can blend so much different stuff off, and it's just so much more efficient for our cows. It's amazing the efficiency change that we get from doing it the way it's always been done to incorporating some equipment. Now, if we didn't have the grow yard, we wouldn't be doing this, because, you know, there's a source of investment that we would have to make. I'm gonna see what my weight is. Okay, so there's a huge investment we'd have to make, you know, a big tractor, a big wagon, and, you know, something big to load it with. You know, a skid steer would do it. You got to build a ramp, and, you know, there's just a lot of input there that normally you just wouldn't have to do, or we wouldn't, if we weren't doing this, we wouldn't do. And that's where this kind of works a little bit better for me, because I've already have a reason to have the equipment. You know, I wouldn't be sitting in a cat loader if we didn't have this grow yard. We just would have no use for it, you know, especially not a newer one. It'd be like a janky one without brakes and, you know, no windows, and, you know, it'd take you an hour to get started. That's realistically what it'd be. Where I see the benefit of this vertical now, and we'd have to have the big one like we do now, because we do have to travel so far, because our cows are not right here. It's not like go a mile down the road. No, we're going, you know, 10, 12 miles one way. So you got to maximize what you can do, and that's why we went with, I got the big one. They make much bigger ones, but this one's big enough for me. I think where the transition, we might see a transition, is at some point, if money just fell out of the sky, we would go to a truck with a vertical mounted on a truck. You can get decent sized verticals on big trucks. That would be something I would see a transition to, if, you know, the finances were there. Because as far as we're traveling, when we do feed like this, it takes just so long to go anyway, you know, 2-3 hours to make a trip by the time you go into all the little different pastures and feed everything. And that's just for half the cows. So, but yeah, it's the one thing I will say, that having this machine, and I do use it in the grow yard. It's just there's some pens that I can't feed the whole length of the pen, because it's just not, it's too big. Like, I got the tractor in front of it, and it's too big, so I can't feed the whole bunk, because I got, you know, alleyways and fences and like that, and it's super inefficient that way. And the truck is a lot more controlled, you know, for putting feed down the entire length of the bunk, and it's much more efficient using the truck. But the one thing I will say about the wagon that still remains true on the vertical is if you have your hay pre-ground, whether you hire it done or you do it yourself, you save so much fuel. It's amazing the amount of fuel that you'll save. Because like right now, I'm having to sit here and wait for this thing to process that hay. And I know it's still not done because I can see it at the top of the rim, just big chunks of hay. And I'm burning fuel. I'm sitting here just burning diesel. Whereas if this hay was pre-ground, you can process the hay much cheaper through a grinder. It's not, you got to factor in your mixing time is going to be less. You're still processing the hay either way, but the volume of hay that can be processed through a big hay grinder versus through a mixer and the amount of fuel that is used, it's amazing what it'll do. So anyways, that still holds true. I'd still suggest if you're going to buy a vertical mixer, get a new one or like a lightly used one, because when they break, I believe they're just much harder to fix. You basically got to have a crane, a big boom truck to get the augers out of them. You can't just pull an auger out with your loader as easily. It can be done, but as like a horizontal truck, you can't just pull your farm tractor up there and pull the auger out and everything. But because they're so tall and they are heavy. But anyway, that's kind of what's going on. It's snowy today. It's supposed to be cold for the next several days, and everything's holding together fine. I just want to take some feed to our cows so they've got more than just the corn stalks they're grazing, to have a little bit of warmth in them and just keep everything happy. So catch you guys on the next one.